This is such a great title for a book. Nancy L. Harry is in our virtual green room. She's going to join us in a minute here on Author's Corner with me, Kate Delaney, here on America Tonight. Her book is Jesus is on the Way. Be ready, be prepared. There have been a lot of conversations about that. How do you be ready? How do you be prepared? And so I think she just really nailed that equation. Nancy, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
What made you decide you were going to write the book?
Well, the return of Jesus is a subject that years ago I rarely heard anyone mention, and now it seems to come up everywhere. And also for a long time, I've been writing down what I hear the Lord say during my prayer time, and more, he's been talking about the return of his son. And my heart became so full, it just kind of automatically poured out into my new book, Jesus is on the Way.
And I like that your heart is so full. Were you always a strong believer from the time you were young?
I was. Actually, a neighbor of mine had given me a book about the life of Jesus when I was only 10. And after I read that book, I decided I wanted him in my life forever. So, yes, he's been in my life a long time.
Tell the listeners what they'll find out in your book, because that's a big subject that you tackle, one that you care about, one that people are, like I said in the beginning, are talking about. How did you break it down in the book?
Well, my book will actually guide you through the impact God's love has on our daily life as you prepare for his son's arrival. And the fact is, Jesus is ready, but he's waiting for us to get ready. So the question is, are you ready to greet him? It's time for us to get down to business. We have to be ready before it's too late.
I like that you said that we have to be ready before it's too late. Do you think that people think that we have this unextended time? And so that's the thing, like, ooh, I kind of, and I don't think everybody thinks this, but I kind of made a wrong turn here, or maybe I should be more devotional, or maybe I should think more about this, but they always think that they have more time.
I think so, just because that, I think it seems like people are even afraid to mention that Jesus is coming back. They don't like to think about it. And the thing is, when we're prepared, then you don't have to worry, about his return, because we'll be excited about it and we'll look forward to it.
Yeah, that's the other question. And as it's described in the Bible, and how many different types of pastors and clergy type people kind of minister to their flocks about that. What do you envision it as? Christ coming back, Jesus coming back. What does it feel like to you? What do you think it'll be like? I mean, of course we don't know, but what do you think in your mind? Because you're such a peaceful person and such a strong believer.
I think for those that are looking forward to his return, and I think it's going to be a really exciting time. It's actually something that personally I'm looking forward to. But the thing is, I think people have to realize what they have to do in order to be ready. And I think a lot of times what people think God expects of them isn't actually what he says we need to do after all. So that was another reason I thought it was important to write this book, so people can have that security and confidence in knowing that they are ready to greet him when he comes back.
What do we have to do? I mean, you talk about a lot in the book, and I don't want to give everything away. Of course, you can get this book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever good books are sold, and it's Jesus is on the Way, be ready, be prepared. But what do we have to do?
One of the things that God's calling us to do is come up to a higher standard of living. This is something that's important to him, because when we do things that represent him and glorify him, it also makes our life better. I think a lot of times people think, well, being a Christian might mess up my life, but that's not true. It actually enhances our life. So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, and don't you think that when we talk about being on earth and then what happens afterwards, when we talk about being on earth, and you can find this in the Bible about how God wants us to live, especially abundantly. There's clearly all of that is there. And I think now more than ever, there is something about the lack of kindness or empathy. And I think if you really embrace some of what you say in the book, maybe there would be more kindness and empathy. That's part of it, isn't it?
That's really a lot of it. I often think that if people would have more love in their hearts, and I turn the news on and I see what's going on around the world, I think, wow, we really need more of God's love in it. I had heard a missionary give this analogy one time, and I kind of adopted it for myself. She had said that she sees herself as a teapot, and God pours in his love, and she pours it out. So I kind of adopted that for myself. But then I was thinking, well, what if people like to drink coffee better than tea? Well, they could see themselves as a coffee pot and let God pour his love in so he could pour it out, so they could pour it out.
Yeah, I like that analogy. That's a wonderful analogy. So when people read the book, and, we're bringing that full circle, and we've talked about it, you've said it in this, but you wrote this for a reason, and you were called to write this for a reason, and now it's out there in the world. Somebody listens to this conversation, people are finding your book, they read the book. What ultimately do you hope they take away?
Well, I hope they take away more of a love and an understanding for who God is, because I think too many people think that he's someone to fear, or they think he's waiting to punish them, or he thinks he doesn't care about them, but he actually does love us. That's not just a cliche that's old and outdated. So I'm hoping they take away the desire God has for his people, and that he does love us, and he's coming back because he does love us. And the important thing is that we need to be ready to meet him. And even if he's not here today or tomorrow, next year or whenever, someday we're all going to meet him. We're all going to stand before him. So we all need to be ready, whether, whenever.
Right. And it doesn't matter, anybody listening, and clearly you can tell by reading your book, it doesn't matter what religion somebody is. It's about the principle of it, isn't it?
It is, because this is a subject that applies to anybody, whether they're a Christian or not. So that's why I'm hoping my book will be informative and helpful to either.
Yeah, to so many people. And, and lastly, for you, putting the book out into the world, what did that feel like? That's a pretty big step.
It is a big step. And it's kind of, I guess for me, at first it was kind of nerve-wracking, but I felt this is what God wanted me to do, that this was an important book to get out there. So I feel like God's been inspiring me to go in this direction so that more and more people will know how he feels about his son return and what he has to say about it.
I like that. Perfect place to end this. Nancy L. Harry, that's the name you'll catch on the book. Jesus is on the way. Be ready, be prepared. Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome. Thank you.